I refused to drive 4 hours to visit my grandmother in the hospital after finding out she cut me out of her will for not being ambitious enough. Now my family says I'm cold and ungrateful. I'm Emily, 32 years old, female, and apparently the cold, ungrateful granddaughter of the family now. That's the title they've given me since last week. Before that, I was the sweet one, the good listener, the rock, who kept the peace when my mom and her siblings went at it during family dinners. I've always been the one to compromise, to drive the extra miles, to sit quietly when the conversations got insulting. But this time, I'm done. The drama started with a phone call from my mom 3 days ago. I was at home in Columbus, drinking lukewarm coffee and scrolling through work emails when she said, "Your grandma's in the hospital. They're saying it's serious. You should come." 4 hours away, middle of the work week. No warning, I was ready to say yes, to throw my stuff in the car like I always do. Until she added, "It might be your last chance to make peace considering she cut you out of the will." Like she just tossed that in casually between weather updates. I thought I misheard her. "Wait, what?" Mom sighed like I was being slow. "Emily, you knew this might happen. Grandma's just disappointed in the choices you've made. She's leaving her estate to people who've shown ambition." Ambition, that's what they call it. Translation: I didn't become a lawyer like my cousin Brian. I didn't marry a provider and pump out kids like my sister Claire. I became a freelance photographer, the artsy one, who sometimes works weddings, sometimes shoots product photos for local businesses. I own my apartment, my car's paid off, and I'm happy. But to my grandmother, that's not ambition. It's wasted potential. And now she's in a hospital bed, and they expect me to drive 4 hours to… what? Beg for a blessing? Pretend it doesn't sting that she erased me from the will because my life didn't look impressive enough in her cocktail party anecdotes? I said no. I said it flat, no excuses, no fake, "I'll try." Just, "I'm not coming." The silence from my mom's end was heavy enough to crush a rib. Then came the speech. How I'm selfish. How family is more important than pride. How grandma might not make it and I'll regret it forever. I just sat there, my coffee going cold in my hand, thinking about the last time grandma and I spoke. It was 2 months ago at Claire's baby shower. Grandma had handed me a plate of cake and said, "You know, Em, you're too pretty to waste your life on side gigs. You could still make something of yourself if you tried." Right there, in front of half the family, like I was a broken appliance she thought she might fix if she nagged hard enough. Now apparently I'm supposed to put that aside and drive 8 hours round trip to sit at her bedside, maybe get a pat on the hand if she's feeling gracious. I told Mom, if Grandma wanted me there, she wouldn't have made it clear I'm not worth leaving anything to. Mom's voice went cold. "So you're letting money decide whether you say goodbye to your grandmother?" I didn't say it, but the truth is, it's not about the money. It's about the fact that she looked at my life and decided it wasn't worth respecting. By that night, the calls had started. Aunt Marlene telling me I'm heartless. Cousin Brian saying he knew I'd turn out like this. Even Claire, who used to be my ally, texting me, "You've changed, and not in a good way." But the worst part, they're just getting started. 2 days later, I realized they weren't going to let this go quietly. It started with Claire showing up at my apartment unannounced. She was still in her new mom uniform, messy bun, leggings, oversized sweater, but the look on her face was pure battlefield. She barely said hello before pushing her way inside, balancing the baby carrier in one hand like it was her shield. "You can't seriously be doing this," she said, dropping the carrier on my kitchen table. My nephew was asleep, blissfully unaware that his mom was about to stage an emotional intervention. "Doing what?" I asked, already bracing for impact. "Refusing to go. Refusing to see Grandma. She cut me out of her will for not being ambitious enough, Claire. I think we're past polite hospital visits." Claire rolled her eyes so hard I thought she'd sprained something. "It's not about the will. It's about being there. She's our grandmother. She helped raise us." I nearly laughed. "She raised you. I was the one she called lazy when I said I didn't want to be a corporate lawyer. She's been measuring me against you and Brian since I was 14. You think I forgot that?" Claire ignored me, pacing my tiny kitchen like she was psyching herself up for a fight. Do you have any idea how bad this looks? Everyone's talking about you. They're saying you're holding a grudge over money. That you're cold, cold. There it was again. Like I was an unfeeling robot just because I wasn't willing to be emotionally blackmailed into driving across the state. I leaned against the counter, trying to keep my voice steady. Maybe I am cold. Or maybe I'm done being treated like the family charity case who's supposed to be grateful for crumbs. Claire's voice went sharp. She's dying, Emily. You're going to regret this for the rest of your life. Before I could answer, she picked up her phone and started typing furiously. Then she turned the screen to me, our family's private Facebook group. She just posted, Emily refuses to say goodbye to Grandma. She says she doesn't care. I saw the comments start rolling in real time. Little heartbroken emojis, passive-aggressive Bible quotes, and one from Aunt Marlene that just said, shameful. That's when I felt something snap in me. I walked over, grabbed Claire's phone out of her hand and tossed it, not hard, but enough to make her gasp, onto the couch. You don't get to weaponize the internet against me in my own home. Get out. Her face went red, eyes glassy with a mix of rage and disbelief. Wow, you really are heartless. She scooped up the baby carrier, muttering about how she hoped I enjoyed being alone at Christmas. The door slammed so hard behind her that one of my framed photos rattled off the wall and hit the floor, the glass shattering across my rug. I just stood there barefoot, staring at the broken frame, a shot I'd taken of Grandma years ago, back when she still smiled at me like I was worth something. By the next morning, my phone had exploded. Missed calls, voicemails, a text from Aunt Marlene that read, if you're not going to the hospital, we'll bring the hospital to you. I had no idea what she meant, but I was about to find out. Don't forget to subscribe. The hospital came to me 3 hours later. I was halfway through editing a client's engagement shoot when I heard a knock. Not a polite tap. 3 hard, insistent bangs that rattled the door. I opened it to find Aunt Marlene standing there with 2 of Grandma's church friends, all in pastel sweaters like they'd just come from Bible study. And behind them, a hospital bed on wheels. It wasn't Grandma. They hadn't kidnapped her, thank God. But it was a prop bed with an oxygen tank, flowers, and one of Grandma's cardigans draped across the top like some twisted visual aid. What the hell is this? I asked. Marlene looked smug. You wouldn't come to her, so we brought her to you. This is how you'll remember her if you keep refusing to visit. A bed and an empty sweater. I actually laughed, because it was either that or scream. You dragged a hospital bed into my hallway? It's a message, she said. The church ladies nodded solemnly, one clutching a Bible like I might burst into flames any second. Then Marlene shoved an envelope into my hand. From your grandmother. She wanted you to have it. The handwriting on the front was Grandma's. Inside was a single sheet of stationery with just 4 words. I expected more from you. No love, no please visit, no sign of affection. Just that. I felt my throat close. My hands shook. Not because I wanted to cry, but because I'd never felt so utterly erased. Marlene must have mistaken my silence for hesitation, because she stepped forward like she was going to push past me into the apartment. Let's talk about forgiveness. I blocked the doorway. No, you don't get to stage some creepy parade of guilt through my building. Get that thing out of here before I call security. One of the church ladies gasped like I'd just threatened to kick a puppy. Marlene's face twisted. So this is who you are now? A selfish, bitter woman who can't even say goodbye to the woman who raised her? I stepped forward, close enough that she had to back up. Grandma didn't raise me. She judged me. She compared me. And she decided my life wasn't worth a place in her will. She made her choice. This is mine. Marlene's lips pressed into a thin line. We'll see what the rest of the family thinks. She turned, signaling the church ladies to wheel the bed away like some morbid float in a 1-car funeral procession. I shut the door and locked it, my heart pounding so hard it hurt. My neighbors were peeking out from their apartments, whispering. I could feel their eyes on me as I picked up the envelope again, staring at those 4 words. By evening, photos were on Facebook. Someone had snapped a shot of me standing in the doorway with the envelope in my hand, the caption reading, "She turned us away." The comments were brutal. Strangers piling on with their judgments, family members chiming in with sighing emojis and prayers for Emily's cold heart. That night, someone slid a note under my door. No envelope, just paper. In thick black marker, it said, "She's still alive. For now." I didn't sleep a second. By the next morning, I was done playing defense. I'd spent the night pacing my apartment, every shadow under the door making me think another note was coming. I kept glancing at the photo of Grandma, the same one that had fallen off the wall when Claire slammed the door days earlier. The frame was still cracked, but I hadn't picked up the glass. It felt symbolic somehow. I realized something around 3 a.m. I'd been letting them dictate the entire narrative. Facebook posts, staged stunts, whispered gossip. I was just sitting there absorbing the hits. If I wanted this to stop, I couldn't just say no. I had to make it impossible for them to keep doing this without looking like lunatics. So I started digging. I opened my external hard drive, the one I keep for backups of personal photos. Years of family gatherings, birthday parties, weddings, and candid shots I'd never posted anywhere. My camera's always around my neck, so I have pictures of things most people forgot happened, or didn't want remembered. There was Grandma, 3 years ago, at Claire's wedding rehearsal dinner, half drunk and telling Brian's then-girlfriend she'd never be good enough for this family. There was Aunt Marlene, red-faced and screaming at a waitress because the salad had too much lettuce. And most importantly, there was the photo I'd almost deleted. Grandma at the Easter brunch last year, leaning over to me with that fake sweet smile saying, "Emily, maybe next year you'll have something worth celebrating." The audio was on for that one. The thing about photography is it freezes the exact moment. Tone, expression, context. There's no "you misheard" or "that's not what I meant." By sunrise, I'd pulled together a folder. I named it Family Truths. The plan wasn't to post it right away. That would have been satisfying, sure, but obvious. No, I wanted them to know I could post it, to feel the weight of it hanging over them. I called Claire first. No hello, no small talk. "I saw your Facebook post," I said. "You might want to take it down," she scoffed. "Or what?" "Or I start sharing some photos, the kind people don't put in scrapbooks." Silence. I could hear the baby fussing in the background. "Are you threatening me?" she finally said. "Call it an offer. You back off, I stay quiet." Her voice was tight when she said, "You've changed, Emily." But then the line went dead. 10 minutes later, her post vanished. I spent the rest of the day sending quiet, one-line texts to a few others, Aunt Marlene, Cousin Brian, just enough to make it clear that I hadn't forgotten certain moments, and I had the receipts. No threats, no yelling, just reminders. By evening, the calls stopped. The posts slowed. But I knew my family, they weren't going to accept a stalemate. They'd stew, regroup, and try something bigger. Which was fine. I'd be ready. Because the truth? I wasn't done yet. Update. Well, I underestimated them. First off, thanks to everyone who's been DMing me about staying strong and going no contact. Some of you went full scorched earth in your advice, like the person who suggested I hire an actress to play new grandma and take staged family photos just to mess with them. Tempting, not gonna lie. But here's what actually happened. 2 days after I sent my quiet little reminders, I thought maybe they'd gotten the message. My phone was quieter. The Facebook group drama died down, and I even went a whole morning without hearing from anyone with my last name. I should have known that was the calm before the storm. Because Sunday morning my buzzer goes off. I check the monitor, and my stomach drops. They'd brought Grandma. Like actually brought her. In a wheelchair, oxygen tank and all, bundled up in a knitted blanket. Marlene was pushing her, Claire was behind them with the baby, and Brian was there too, filming on his phone like some deranged cameraman. I didn't buzz them in. I just stood there frozen, watching through the monitor as Marlene yelled into the camera, "She's refusing to let us in. She's refusing to say goodbye." Then she crouched down next to Grandma and, in the fakest choked-up voice I've ever heard, said, "Don't you wish she'd come hold your hand one last time?" Grandma looked straight into the lens and said, "I expected more from her." Brian posted the video to Facebook before they even left my building. Within an hour, it had 5,000 views, half from extended family, half from random locals who thrive on this kind of drama. My inbox exploded with everything from "you monster" to, honestly, respect for holding your ground. But here's the twist. Someone I didn't expect messaged me. One of Grandma's own church friends, the same type who clutched their pearls in my hallway, sent me a private note. She said she'd seen the video and wanted me to know things aren't what they seem. Apparently, Grandma's ambition talk isn't new. She's been quietly cutting people out of her will for decades for not living up to her standards. Two cousins I barely know got axed years ago because one married a mechanic and the other gained too much weight. And this is the big one. This woman says Grandma's will is still being finalized, meaning they're not just punishing me, they're trying to lock in their spots before she signs the last draft. That's when it hit me. This isn't about saying goodbye. This is about them making me the villain so they look like the loyal heirs in the lawyer's office. So, I've decided to lean in. If they want a villain, I'll give them one. Don't forget to subscribe. If they were going to paint me as the villain, then fine. I'd give them something to work with. But I wasn't about to waste my shots. This had to sting in a way they couldn't just post away on Facebook. First step was information. I reached out to the church friend who'd messaged me. We'll call her Carol. Turns out Carol's got the kind of memory every gossip columnist dreams of. She could list, by year, every person Grandma had disappointed her way out of the will. She also knew that Grandma's attorney was a man named Fletcher, who worked in a small two-room office above a bakery downtown. Word is, she's meeting him again next Thursday to finalize, Carol told me. Marlene and Claire will be there too. Brian's probably circling like a vulture. Perfect. I didn't care about getting back in the will. That ship had sailed. But I did care about the narrative. Right now, they were selling the image of devoted family who'll do anything for Grandma, while I was the cold ingrate. I wanted to flip that script so hard it left scorch marks. That's when I remembered the audio. The Easter brunch clip. Grandma's voice, clear as day. "Emily, maybe next year you'll have something worth celebrating." Followed by her little laugh and the sound of Marlene muttering, "God, she's hopeless." 2 days before the lawyer meeting, I uploaded that clip to a private, anonymous Instagram account with the caption, "Imagine talking to your granddaughter like this." I didn't tag anyone, but I didn't need to. The account was set to public, and I knew exactly which extended relatives still followed me out of habit. Within hours, the clip was bouncing around the family group chat like wildfire. That night, my phone lit up. "Claire, WTF are you doing?" "Brian, take that down before you embarrass yourself further." Marlene just sent one word. "Really?" I ignored them. The morning of the lawyer meeting, I showed up at the bakery under the pretense of buying coffee. The smell of fresh cinnamon rolls hit me as soon as I walked in, but I wasn't there for pastries. I was there to watch. And sure enough, right on time, Marlene wheeled Grandma in, with Claire and Brian trailing behind, all stiff smiles for the public. I sat by the window, sipping my coffee, just close enough to hear bits of conversation as they passed. Claire was whispering, "Don't let her get to you, just sign everything and—" before they disappeared upstairs. I waited. 10 minutes later, Fletcher's office door slammed so hard it made the ceiling creak. Voices rose, sharp, heated. Then I heard Grandma herself, voice shaking with fury. "If she wants to air our dirty laundry, then maybe none of you deserve a cent." When they came back down, Marlene's face was blotchy, Claire's eyes were wet, and Brian was furiously typing on his phone like he was already drafting the next smear post. As they passed my table, I smiled, just enough for Claire to notice. She froze. "You planned this." I took another sip of coffee. "I told you, Claire, scrapbook material." I figured they'd try to retaliate. What I didn't expect was how quickly they'd implode doing it. The very next morning, my phone started buzzing with notifications. They'd posted another video, this time in Grandma's living room. Marlene was in full dramatic mode, clutching Grandma's hand while Claire sat on the couch, holding the baby like a prop. Brian was behind the camera again, narrating like a true amateur documentarian. "This," he said solemnly, zooming in on Grandma's face, "is what family loyalty looks like. Not running away, not airing private family matters for strangers. Grandma nodded gravely, then, God help me, looked right into the camera and said, "Some people just aren't raised right." Subtle. The post had comments piling up fast, half the family egging them on, the other half uncomfortable but staying quiet. But here's the thing. The more they pushed this perfect heirs act, the more cracks showed. Because people started asking questions. Little ones at first. Like why Marlene was living with Grandma full-time when she'd told everyone she had her own condo. Or why Claire's husband was never around for these family videos. And then Carol, bless her chaos-loving soul, jumped in. She commented under the video, "Funny how you all have time to sit around filming, but not to pay back the money Grandma loaned you for those business ventures." It was like she'd dropped a grenade in the comment section. Suddenly, other relatives started chiming in. A cousin I barely talked to mentioned how Brian had borrowed $5,000 from Grandma 2 years ago and forgot to pay it back. Someone else brought up Marlene's failed luxury pet accessories startup that burned through $12,000 of Grandma's savings. Within hours, the post was deleted. But the damage was done. Now people were messaging me, not to berate me, but to confirm stories, ask for details, or, in a few brave cases, apologize for believing the worst. I kept my responses short and polite. No gloating, no bragging, just enough to let them know the picture was bigger than what Marlene and company had been selling. That night, I got a text from Claire. Just one line. "You're destroying this family." I stared at it for a long time before replying. "I'm just holding up a mirror." And here's the kicker. 2 days later, Carol called me with the news. Grandma had postponed signing the will until further notice. Apparently, the infighting had gotten so bad, she told Fletcher she needed to reconsider a few things. The vultures had officially turned on each other. Update 2. Well, if you told me a month ago that my family would be eating each other alive over Grandma's will, I would have laughed. But here we are. First off, thanks to the person in my DMs who said, "You don't have to burn the house down if they're willing to light the match themselves." I feel like that's basically the theme of my life right now. Since my last post, the cracks have turned into full-on fractures. Remember how Grandma postponed signing her will? That set off a panic spiral like I've never seen. Suddenly, every family gathering became a lobbying session. Brian started driving her to appointments. Just to help, Claire was calling daily with updates about her kids. And Marlene. Oh, Marlene went nuclear. Carol told me she overheard Marlene screaming at Brian in the church parking lot, accusing him of trying to cut her out and saying if she didn't get her rightful share, she'd tell Fletcher everything about his Vegas trip. No idea what that means, but I hope it's as scandalous as it sounds. And here's the delicious part. I haven't had to lift a finger. I haven't posted another thing. I've just been present. Liking the occasional shady comment from extended relatives. Sending Grandma a polite, non-committal, "hope you're feeling okay" text once a week. Being exactly the kind of distant but respectful granddaughter they can't outright smear without looking petty. Then yesterday, Carol sent me a photo. It was from Fletcher's office, taken discreetly from across the street. Grandma, leaving alone. No Marlene, no Claire, no Brian. Just her, walking slowly with her cane, clutching a manila envelope. Carol said she didn't know the details, but she did know that everyone else had been uninvited from that meeting. And apparently whatever was in that envelope is sealed until she passes. The group chat has been dead silent since. No videos, no posts, just radio silence, which is almost more satisfying than any public blow-up could be. I'm not saying I'm back in the will. Honestly, I don't even care. What I care about is that for the first time in years, they're the ones sweating, wondering what's going to happen. And I'm over here drinking my coffee in peace. So yeah, if they wanted a villain, I think I played the role pretty damn well. The silence from my family was eerie. For almost 2 weeks after that photo of Grandma leaving Fletcher's office alone, nothing happened. No passive-aggressive texts, no guilt trip calls, no urgent family matters that just happened to involve cornering me in public. It was like they'd all gone underground waiting for something, which honestly made me more nervous than the constant harassment. Then, out of nowhere, Claire called. No warm-up. No, how are you? Just, have you talked to Grandma? I kept my voice neutral. Not since I texted her last week. She sighed. One of those exaggerated, long-suffering exhales meant to make you feel like you're the problem. Something's going on. She's not telling anyone what happened at that meeting, and Marlene's been different. Different how? She's been nice. To me. That almost made me laugh. Marlene doesn't nice unless she's buttering you up for something. Sounds like she's scared, I said. Claire hesitated. Do you think she changed it? I didn't answer. Not because I didn't have thoughts, but because the truth was I didn't know. And I wasn't about to give Claire anything she could run back and repeat to Marlene. After we hung up, I called Carol. She'd already heard the whispers. Apparently, Fletcher had told Grandma she wasn't obligated to disclose any changes to the will, and she'd taken that advice to heart. Now, Marlene, Claire, and Brian were each convinced the other two had been cut out. It was chaos. Quiet, paranoid chaos. And then, just when I thought it might fizzle out, I got something in the mail. A small padded envelope with no return address. Inside was a flash drive and a sticky note in Grandma's handwriting. Thought you might want this. I plugged it in, half expecting a virus, but what popped up was a single video file. Grainy footage from what looked like Grandma's living room, clearly recorded without the others knowing. In the clip, Marlene, Claire, and Brian were all mid-argument, voices raised, accusing each other of manipulating Grandma for inheritance. Claire was crying, Brian was shouting about all the crap I've done for you, and Marlene, oh Marlene, was saying, I've sacrificed everything to live here and take care of you. The least you could do is make sure I get the house. And then, clear as a bell, Grandma's voice cut through the noise. None of you are getting the house. I just sat there, watching it twice, my heart pounding. This wasn't just a crack in their perfect air image. This was a wrecking ball, and she'd handed it to me. The video was a gift-wrapped nuke, and the best part? It wasn't even my voice, my words, my anything. It was their own mess, captured in their own voices, courtesy of Grandma herself. She'd basically given me a license to use it however I saw fit. But I didn't want to post it directly. That would make it too easy for them to spin me as vindictive again. No, I wanted it to look like it just slipped into the world. So I sent it anonymously to 3 people. Carol, my cousin Jenna, one of the cut-out years ago crew who still had a grudge, and a local Facebook community page that thrived on drama but framed itself as neighborhood updates. I knew it would spread like gasoline on dry grass. And it did. Within hours, the clip was everywhere, shared in family group chats, whispered about in church hallways, even making its way into the comments of an unrelated post about the town's fall festival. People were howling. Not just at the fight itself, but at the moment Grandma dropped the "none of you are getting the house" bomb like she was announcing the weather. By the end of the day, Claire's Instagram went private. Brian deleted his Facebook, and Marlene called me. She didn't yell. She didn't even say my name. Just sat there breathing into the phone for a few seconds before whispering, "Was this you?" I let the silence stretch, then said, "Why would I need to make anything up when you hand me the truth?" She hung up without another word. Later that week, Carol called with the final update. Grandma had simplified the will. The house? Going to be sold, proceeds split equally among all grandchildren, including the ones cut out before me. The rest of her assets? Going to charity. Nobody's getting their golden ticket. And me? I'm not in or out, I'm just untouched. Not a cent more or less than anyone else. Which means all that scheming, guilt-tripping, and public shaming bought them exactly nothing. The next family gathering is apparently still to be determined. I have a feeling attendance might be low. I printed one still frame from the video. Grandma sitting in her chair, perfectly calm while her 3 devoted heirs tear each other apart in the background, and put it in the cracked frame from the photo that fell off my wall weeks ago. It sits on my shelf now, a little reminder. Not of revenge, exactly, but of what happens when you finally stop playing the role they wrote for you and start directing the show yourself.